suicidal to cut Medicaid. His state, Missouri, more than 20% of his constituents are using Medicaid and other programs that are vulnerable in this bill. So you get where he's coming from. They will want to debate this. It's issues of deficit and it's issues of programs, and they know they will have to run on this, and so they'll be held accountable.
Jonathan, Kelly lays out the complications so well, and the complications are around messaging. Senator Joni Ernst in that town hall, that extraordinary moment where she's asked by one of her constituents, will people die because of this, because of all of the changes to Medicaid? And she says, we all die. I mean, politically, it's somewhat problematic.
Yeah, two things from that moment. One macro, one micro. The macro being that this is the culture now of our politics, in which you commit a gaffe like that. In a previous era, you would walk it back or just hope it would go away. The culture now, especially the sort of Trumpian ethos, is you double down, you do a sort of rhetorical middle finger, and you say, I'm going to apologize. And here's the problem with that. It works for Trump.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily work for everybody. And so that video that she put out, I think, it's not her, number one, but B, it just extends the story for 24 more hours. On the micro of the politics of this moment, I think it also highlights what is the worst part of this bill for the Republican Party, which is, I think, even more than the tax and deficit issue, throwing folks off Medicaid. It's a ready-made gift for Democratic ads in 2026.
You take me to my next point, Lonnie. You heard the speaker very adamantly there say there are no cuts. President Trump has said to me he's not cutting Medicaid. Is this an issue of semantics? Because the CBO says 8 million people are going to lose their health care.
Well, I think it's where the policy and the politics don't agree. The policy with respect to Medicaid, there's no question that you have a fair number of issues around who's qualified. The fraud and abuse situation is real. There are questions about whether the program is effectively serving people who are on it. The politics are tough, certainly for swing state Republicans. Democrats have already indicated that they want to use this as a campaign issue. So I think this is one of those things where the right policy is in the bill. The politics are a little bit more tricky.
Well, Jay, you heard Senator Warnock came out swinging against Medicaid. He's from the only state that actually has work requirements. Democrats don't have a lot of power because this is going to be something that Republicans do without Democrats, right. And yet their messaging is what they're going to be leaning into.
So I heard you go back and forth with the speaker about CBO scoring, the deficit, the national debt.
Yeah.
With all of the efforts to fire people, lay people off, what's the point of increased efficiency if at the same time Congress is pushing through into law something that's going to enlarge the deficit? A point that needs to be stressed is that 30% of our national debt is foreign owned. That in and of itself, in my judgment, is a national security issue.
Well, the speaker himself has called the debt and deficit a national security issue as well. I want to shift to what we're hearing from former President Biden this week, who's really speaking out for the first time since his cancer diagnosis, and of course everyone wishing him well in the face of this fight. But here is what he had to say when he was pressed on potential Democratic challengers during the 2024 election. Take a look.
And there's also been a lot of discussion recently about your mental and physical capabilities while you were in office.
You can see that. I'm mentally incompetent, and I can't walk, and I could beat the hell out of both of them.
Well, do you want to reply to any of those reports, and also to the fact that there are some Democrats who are now questioning whether you should have run for re-election in the first place?
Why didn't you run against me?
He says, why didn't these Democrats run against me? I would have beaten them. That's a feisty former President Biden, Kelly.
That is very Joe Biden. The sarcasm that doesn't always translate if you're not actually seeing the moment. If you read it in print, that can be more problematic. He is fixed on the political data point that he is the only Democrat who beat Donald Trump. That is true. Mm-hmm. What he has not really moved toward is assessing that he's also a Democrat who was in charge of the party when Donald Trump came back to power. Maybe because he's under a great deal of pressure personally and politically, he will evolve to a point where he speaks about that more directly. But for now, he is still saying he was the best positioned, and judgment is changing.
Yeah, I mean, J. Mart, you have these comments against the backdrop of some potential 2028 hopefuls gathering in South Carolina. We're starting to see people dip their toe into these waters.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. I know.
Lots of wet toes.
Look, nobody ran against him in part because he changed the calendar personally to make South Carolina first and take away New Hampshire's a tradition, but also nobody ran against him because there was a failing in the Democratic Party to speak out about the truth that was in front of their face, which is they knew he was going to have a challenge asking for 4 more years, but nobody wanted to raise their hand and say it first. And I think Democrats did themselves a grave disservice to that. Just real fast. This next election is going to be the first time in 44 years there has not been a Biden or a Clinton on the ballot or looming over the election going back to 1984. So this is going to be a generational turn, I think, among Democrats.
So where do Democrats go from here, Jay?
The Democratic Party, unfortunately, is perceived by many as a party of identity politics, open borders, and political correctness. If I were in charge, I would survey as many people as possible who voted for first Bernie Sanders and then Donald Trump to find out what issues are they care about.
That intersection may just be the key to winning
I think Jay's really hit on something, which is what is the affirmative message? What do you actually stand for beyond those things that people think you stand for? And I think part of the challenge is there is going to be an opportunity for fresh energy. There probably is an opportunity for fresh ideas too, because the ideas that have been batted around, frankly, are largely retreads. And I think the Democratic Party is not going to be successful until it actually has an affirmative policy agenda, which it doesn't appear to me now that they have.
Okay, all right, stay with us. We have a lot more to get to. But first, when we come back,